Cannondale is releasing a new Synapse at the end of the summer, and it's coming with a new updated SmartSense system. Even if we don't have the $15,000 or however much it costs to get hold of this system, I think this is something that all endurance cyclists should be paying attention to, because I think it's a glimpse into what the endurance bike will become in the future and what to look out for. So let's dive into this release, take a look at the SmartSense system, and see what it has to offer, what it does well, and what it could improve. Let's go back 3 years though to the first introduction of the SmartSense system. The main idea was quite sound, to use a central battery to power all the different accessories and reduce the amount of faff with charging and keeping track of battery levels. Here we can see a chunky battery here on the down tube, powering a front light, a tail light, and a little radar pod. This system though was kind of panned for being half-baked and ugly. This big chunky battery on the down tube didn't actually have much power. And the front light was also a kind of a mid-power light, and a lot of people just already own lights that they preferred. And on the rear, this big chunky tail light made the use of a saddlebag impossible. So for an endurance bike where we have to carry lots of tools and carry our snacks and things, this reduced the amount of storage space on the bike. On top of all that, these things that just seemed tacked on made the bike look extra cluttered at a time when other bikes were becoming more sleek and more integrated. Enter the Synapse with SmartSense version 2. They took all the complaints and all the negative points from version 1, and they built a frame around integrating those and improving every aspect. Here they have a smaller but more bright, more powerful front light. They've integrated the tail light and the radar into a single unit. The battery is stored inside the down tube and has even opened up some storage space inside the down tube. And on top of all that, the battery also powers the rear derailleur and is basically doubled in size. The battery can easily just stay inside the frame all the time and be charged with this USB-C port that's on the down tube and just below the bottle mount. Cannondale claimed that the battery can be charged while in use, like from an external battery pack, or that a cable could be run from this port to charge a phone or a GPS unit. The most interesting part to me is this has all been done with off-the-shelf e-bike components. On an e-bike, because they have one giant battery on the down tube of the bike anyway, e-bike components have been designed to run off that giant central battery. But here on the human-powered Synapse, they've just taken those same components and powered them with a much smaller, manageable-sized battery bank. So, for example, here's a SRAM Red UDH derailleur for the new 13-speed, but they use a system that's already in use on some e-bikes where there's a plastic cover where the battery goes, and it connects a cable to the battery bank to power the derailleur. So even though they've taken a wireless derailleur and gave it a wire, it means that it has access to a huge amount of power and can last for a very long time. For a headlight, Cannondale have chosen the Lightskin brand U1E, which is a very small and compact but quite high-powered light. We can see here it's only 43 grams, and it does have a complex beam pattern that should give a bright, even carpet of light, which is exactly what we want for on the road. The regular version has up to 800 lumens of power, and it also has a German version that's ST-VZO compatible, but it has only 400 lumens, partially due to those regulations. But it seems to use the same lens, so the beam quality should be quite high. For the rear, Cannondale have gone with the Varia ERTL 615, and this is just a regular e-bike style taillight and radar unit. They just had to adapt the cable to match with their battery pack, and it's just plug and play. Choices like this should allow for pretty good serviceability in the future. At the center and powering all of these components is the Gen 2 SmartSense battery. According to Cannondale's documentation, it's got 43 watt hours and is running at 14.4 volts. This means I think it's probably 4 18650 batteries that are inside this pack, and it's chargeable by USB-C. Here at the bottom, it docks into this sort of docking station, which distributes the power to the 4 different components. It's pretty interesting that Cannondale was able to fit this battery pack into their down tube by using this detachable lid, which is pretty commonly used now on gravel and some endurance bikes for storage. And because the battery slides down towards the bottom bracket and locks into place, it can be charged with this little port on the frame, and it leaves space for tool storage on the upper half of the down tube. This does place the bottle cage a little bit higher than usual and probably makes it impossible to use a frame bag, but overall I'd say this is a really nifty system. And here are the run times for different lighting modes. These are adjustable in the Cannondale app apparently, but it gives a good idea about how much capacity is available. So overall, I think the SmartSense Gen 2 is a really interesting idea that does solve real problems that we long distance and endurance cyclists face. As more components and more accessories require electricity, it becomes a real faff to keep them all charged and make sure to stay on top of the battery levels for every different little thing. This system powers 4 components with a nice sizable battery pack and allows for them to be charged just with one simple cable. The battery size itself should be adequate for most conditions. However, for an ultra-distance cyclist or a randonneur, we'd probably want a little bit more juice. But since it can be charged on the go, that should be no problem with a simple external battery pack. So overall, I think Cannondale have done a great job with the SmartSense Gen 2 version, and they've developed the new Synapse to be really sleek with how it's implemented. The bike itself, it just seems pretty normal to me. The geometry is pretty standard endurance bike geometry. It's got all the new integrated bells and whistles and handlebars and things like that. Reserve wheels, pretty good choice of tires, and I would hope so for whatever $15,000 or $16,000 that this is going to be. Unfortunately for now, SmartSense is only available on their top of the line Lab 71 version, so whoever's got that much money laying around can have a really sleek, nicely integrated bike. As far as the other qualities of the bike go, the geometry is really kind of, I would call it old style. We can see in this flashy photo that Lachlan Morton has slammed his saddle all the way forward to be able to use aero bars. If they would steepen the seat tube angle a little bit, that would be helpful. But other elements of the geometry are just really, really normal. 71.3 degree head tube angle. The bottom bracket drop is 7.3 to 7 centimeters depending on the size, which again, super normal. The trail is 6.1, I guess 61 millimeters here. Again, should be perfectly average. Nothing out of place with the stack or the reach. And it has pretty good tire clearance. So this would have been a fine gravel bike 6 or 7 years ago. The big headliner though is their SmartSense system, and I think they've done a great job on that. But this type of technology will be really easy for other brands to implement. They really just need a battery pack and to be able to cable it and store it in a semi-attractive way. And this is likely going to be repeated by other brands in the near future. All the different components that make the SmartSense system, except for the battery pack and the port, are available off the shelf. But thanks for taking a look at the new Cannondale Synapse and their SmartSense system, and let me know what you think in the comments. Would you rather keep all of your components powered separately, or would you like them all to be powered by one central battery? And if so, do you think that other brands are going to start doing this in the future too? Could be a very easy concept to copy and perhaps even improve.